Coming up today, North Korea issues its strongest hint yet that it will launch a long-range rocket next month to coincide with a key anniversary event. The two Koreas are set to exchange the lists of candidates for next month's planned reunions for war-separated families. Plus, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says he wants to hold bilateral talks with President Park Geun-hye if a planned three-way summit with China goes ahead this fall. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello and welcome. It's 6 a.m. on Tuesday, September 15th here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broome and you're tuned in to our early morning edition of Arirang News. Our top story this morning, North Korea says it has almost completed preparations to launch a long-range rocket. The head of the country's aerospace agency told the state-run Korean Central News Agency on Monday that the regime is in the final stages of setting up its new satellite system. He said the world will see North Korea's rocket flying high at a time and place of Pyongyang's choosing. The chief went on to justify the North's plan, claiming it's for space development purposes. Now, outside analysts view it as cover for missile tests. The remarks seem to back up mounting speculation. North Korea will launch a rocket in mid-October to mark the 70th anniversary of the founding of its Workers' Party. However, a diplomatic source in Washington says satellite imagery shows no clear signs yet of preparation at North Korea's launch tower on its northwest coast. With the planned reunions of families separated by the Korean War exactly 5 weeks away now, the two Koreas are edging ever closer to settling on the lucky families they'll have the chance to see each other again. The Koreas will exchange the list of candidates at the border village of Panmunjom later today. South Korea's list will have the names of 250 people, while the North's list will contain the names of 200 people. The South's list is larger as it includes 50 family members of South Koreans held as prisoners of war or abducted by the North. Both sides are expected to exchange their final lists of 100 participants from each side on October 8th. The family members will be reunited at North Korea's Mount Gumgang resort from October 20th to the 26th. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has expressed his willingness to hold a bilateral summit with President Park Geun-hye on the sidelines of a possible three-way summit with China this fall. During a House of Councillors meeting on Monday, Abe said he was considering holding separate meetings with his South Korean and Chinese counterparts if the planned trilateral summit is realized. Pointing out that difficult issues exist with both countries, Abe said that was all the more reason the summit should be held without preconditions. Presidents Park Geun-hye and her Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping recently agreed to hold a trilateral meeting with Japan in late October or early November. On Tuesday, Seoul will host a closed-door working-level meeting among deputy directors of the three countries' foreign ministries. They are expected to work on setting up that leaders' summit. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has expressed his support for the victims of Japan's wartime system of sexual slavery. At the start of the 30th session of the Human Rights Council in Geneva on Monday, Zaid Raed al-Hussein spoke about various human rights issues around the world. He said the UN would have nowhere to stand unless people's basic rights and freedoms are protected. He added Japan must acknowledge its wartime atrocities to restore the victims' dignity. Now, one surviving victim in Korea urged Japan to own up to history. She said if leaders of Korea and Japan do end up holding a summit, President Park Geun-hye should ask Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to take responsibility for Tokyo's past wrongdoings. Back here in Korea, and Labour representatives at the country's umbrella union group on Monday approved a deal that is aimed at overhauling the nation's rigid labour market. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
The Central Executive Committee of the Federation of Korean Trade Unions has approved a tentative deal that would ease labor regulations, with 30 out of 48 votes in favor of the move. But reaching this final decision was no easy task. About an hour into the meeting on Monday, the head of the metal workers' trade union attempted to set himself on fire in protest of the deal, temporarily suspending the talks. Such opposition hinged on two contentious points. The tripartite committee of labor, union, and management representatives agreed in principle the company should be allowed to sack underperforming workers. This was under the condition that the criteria and procedures would be first worked out between experts, labor, and management before any workers were laid off. But union representatives argued that this would make it too easy for companies to lay off workers. Current labor laws stipulate companies can terminate an employee's contract if they are involved in a corruption case or if the company is in serious financial difficulty. Another disputed area was the easing of labor restrictions, which require companies to gain employee consent before changing the terms of their employment. The government has said easing the regulations is a necessary step to get private companies to implement a wage peak system, which will guarantee employment until retirement, but with lower ages after a specific age, and the money saved would be directed at hiring young workers. Although the deal states such processes will come after negotiations with labor and management, labor union representatives argued that management could go ahead and implement regulations it wishes. For now, the road is being cleared, but legislative proceedings remain, while other labor unions are expected to strike in opposition of the deal. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, following the approval, the ruling Saenuri party and the government vowed to push through the legislative process for the proposed changes, but the main opposition party has vowed to go over the bill with a fine-tooth comb. Ji Myung-gil reports.
The ruling Saenuri party and the government agreed to push ahead with legislating a bill to carry out the government's labor reform plans.
Our party has received the government's proposed labour reform bill, and we will propose the bill in the name of our party. We ask the opposition's full cooperation to successfully complete legislating the bill at the National Assembly.
The Saenuri party plans to convene a general meeting of its lawmakers this Wednesday to discuss the legislating procedures and have the bill passed during the parliamentary regular session. The labor reform bill will include easing regulations to allow companies to dismiss underperforming workers and also allow companies to change the rules of employment. However, the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy said it is against making it easier for companies to lay off workers, as it would only increase job instability.
Although the provision recommends employment contracts to be consulted with experts, companies can still easily fire workers. The agreement has instigated job insecurity for regular workers and no improvement in working conditions for non-regular workers.
The opposition bloc said that while it would deliberate the bill at the Parliamentary Labor Committee with ruling party lawmakers, it vowed to block any unilateral legislative activities. As reforming the labor market has become a key agenda ahead of next year's general elections, rival parties will likely have a tough time working out the details of the labor reform bill. Ji Myung-gil, Arirang News.
Now to the intensifying refugee crisis in Europe, and Hungary is blocking refugees entering the country via Serbia. The move comes earlier than expected. Hungary said Monday that it was preparing to introduce tougher border measures on Tuesday, but it moved the time forward by around 8 hours. That means from now, refugees who cross Hungary's border illegally will be arrested. The Hungarian government says people seeking asylum must now use an official border crossing supervised by police. Hungary is not the only country to act. Following Germany's lead, Austria, Slovakia and the Netherlands say they will also tighten controls. Russia is sending more troops and now tanks into Syria as part of a continued military build-up in the war-torn country. US officials say several transport planes have taken off from a base in southern Russia during the past week to ferry equipment to Syria. Russian T-90 tanks and artillery have also been spotted at an airfield near the city of Latakia, a stronghold of Russia's old ally President Bashar al-Assad. Syria denies Russian troops are involved in combat, but has admitted to having Russian quote, experts on the ground. US officials worry that a Russian presence in Syria could seriously complicate the US-led coalition's airstrikes against Islamic State fighters in that country. For the past couple of decades now, China has been designating so-called new areas to serve as international business hubs and boost economic cooperation with its neighbours. Our Park Geun-hye visited one such area in the northeastern city of Dalian and filed this report.
China's State Council has so far approved 14 national-level new areas designated to encourage and attract new developments, especially foreign direct investment, with their advanced infrastructure and simplified regulations. And Jinpu New Area, located in Dalian, is the 10th national new district. It was approved in June of last year and is the only such new area in northeast China. The Special Economic Zone, covering about 2,300 square kilometers, particularly aims to position itself as an international shipping and logistics center in Northeast Asia. Its geographical advantage of having close access to major cities like Beijing, Seoul, and Tokyo, and its ice-free port, which is the largest international trade port in northern China, all benefit the successful operation of the area. More than 20,000 businesses, including 75 companies from Fortune Global 500 corporations like major South Korean companies Hyundai and POSCO, are operating in Jinpu. A number of functional zones exist in this area, and one of them is the China-South Korea Trade and Cooperation Experimental Zone. Established in May, the zone puts a special emphasis on cross-border e-commerce with South Korea, and currently about 100 South Korean companies are either already settled in the zone or planning to come to the site to run their overseas businesses.
We are trying to set up an e-commerce system by inviting a number of South Korea's small and medium-sized companies so that Chinese and Russians can easily buy Korean products.
With China's Ministry of Commerce expecting the average annual growth of e-commerce to reach over 30%, the area is key to provide big potential for China's future growth and more economic cooperation with neighboring countries like South Korea and Japan. Park Geun-hye, Arirang News, Dalian.
Now, in recent years, Korean automakers have been launching a series of compact SUVs that run on diesel, and the competition is fierce, especially among three local car makers, SsangYong Motor, GM Korea and Renault Samsung Motors. For a peek at what's in store for local drivers this year, here's our Won Ji-yeon.
This is the QM3 from Renault Samsung Motors. It's been dominating Korea's small SUV market since its debut in late 2013, thanks to its iconic design, affordable price, and outstanding fuel economy. In fact, the QM3 runs on diesel at about 18 kilometers a liter, making it the most fuel-efficient model in the crossover segment. So it comes as no surprise that the QM3 has remained the company's steady seller for the past few years, with over 2,000 units sold every month. But this year, Korea's fourth largest automaker, SsangYong Motor, launched the diesel version of its popular Tivoli line, quickly proving itself as a force to be reckoned with. The Tivoli diesel enticed consumers with its price tag that begins at around just $18,000. As a result, more than 4,000 Tivolis were sold in just over a month after its release in July. Last but not least, GM Korea has also joined the competition by launching the diesel line of its Chevrolet Trax in August. GM officials say the new Trax offers better safety and a much quieter ride since it's equipped with an Opel engine that reduces noise and vibration.
This product will offer the best performance in torque, fuel economy, and on top of that, state-of-the-art safety for our customers.
It looks like the battle of the compact SUVs will ultimately come down to people's choice between fuel economy, design, or safety. Won Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Now, more and more people are opting to share resources like cars and even their homes instead of actually buying them outright. And that concept is expanding to even include working space. Our Kim Ji-yeon reports.
Gone are the days of traditional office cubicles. Now instead, wide tables with open seats are becoming the norm. This is an office space provided by a startup company called Idea Factory, located in Seoul's bustling Gangnam district. It's one of the growing number of companies that aims to lend an ideal working space for startups. Choi Yoon-jung, a contents developer for an education agency who's been using the co-working space for more than 9 months now, says the place has a unique working culture of its own.
One of the best things about this place is that there are a lot of content developers who work here from a variety of fields. Having the opportunity to mingle with them freely helps when trying to come up with an idea or quickly finding someone to get a job done.
And for those who want a more secluded space, there is an alternative called Rope that recently opened up in downtown Seoul. And if your business requires frequent meetings with clients but is unable to afford the cost of a prime office, co-share offices like this have popped up in recent years that can help make a very good first impression.
We wanted to create a space that's easy on the eyes. Our target customers are freelancers, including designers, musicians, and those in the IT business that need a decent place to meet face-to-face with their clients.
These co-working spaces aim to cater to the different needs of freelancers and startups and their varying tastes. Private rooms at Rope that can accommodate up to 2 people cost $1,000 a month, while using a communal space at Idea Factory starts at $7 a day. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Well, that's all we have for now. Have a great day, and thank you as always for tuning in. Goodbye.